So before I begin my presentation, I do also need to make note of some language I will use. In Harry Potter, witch and wizard are gendered terms. And so while this paper is not on explicitly queer or feminist themes, when not referring to specific characters or quoting the text, I will use the gender-neutral wix to refer to a magical human and wixen to refer to their society. Just as an attempt to continue to retake the fandom back for trans and non-binary fans. So without further ado, Irma Pince and Librarianship in Harry Potter. Since Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was first published on June 26, 1997, the franchise has faced near constant politicization and skyrocketed up the challenged book lists of the 1990s and 2000s. Because of this, people have had much to say about librarianship and Harry Potter, but what is there to say about librarianship in Harry Potter? There has been some discussion of the topic, but most of it has revolved around Harry and his allies using the Hogwarts library as a space or tool for information gathering. Thus, one aspect of the Hogwarts library goes quietly and invisibly unexamined. Madam Pince. In this presentation, I will examine the evidence, compare it to Ranganathan's 5 laws of library science, and ask, is Irma Pince guilty of bad librarianship, or is she a good librarian with a bad reputation? To begin, I want to look at librarian tropes in literature and take note of the gendering of these tropes. There is a borderline shut-in but attractive librarian, such as Marian from The Music Man, the alternate Mary from It's a Wonderful Life, and Marianne, the librarian from You, which is a recent television show, all of which share a name with the most innocent of virgins. There is the sexy or sex-crazed librarian, such as Connie Randall from No Man of Her Own, Miss Dalton from SNL's Librarian Skit, and the unnamed librarian in Quiet Please, a absolutely filthy short story by Amy Bender. Highly recommend. Other tropes include the librarian, but also action hero, such as Barbara Gordon of Batman fame, and Evelyn Carnahan from The Mummy. Another trope is the keeper of the supernatural, such as Wong Chi-tong from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Rupert Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you'll note, this is the only librarian trope that is exclusively male. However, the next one, the inspirational librarian, is split between Mr. Dewey from The Pagemaster and Mrs. Phelps in Matilda as the archetypes. However, they are related to only opening the door for knowledge for the true heroes. Then you get the dictatorial librarian, such as Margaret Gesner in Monsters University and the Grey Lady from the original Mythbusters movie. Ghostbusters, movie. This is the mold from which Irma Pince was cast. The word cloud is the top 50 words associated with Irma Pince throughout the Harry Potter books. Highlights include prowled, irritable, and comparing her looks to an underfed vulture with sunken cheeks, parchment-like skin, and a hooked nose, which thematically connects her to Neville's grandma and her vulture-topped hat. Book is also, thankfully, a top mention. Filch. I found Filch to be a surprise, but she is twice mentioned alongside Filch in a way that implies a romantic connection. She brandishes feather dusters and breathes down necks. She prowls menacingly and sweeps past and swoops down. She whips out her wand and causes books to whack students over the head. She lunges with claw-like hands and is enraged at marginalia and food in the library. So libraries don't get a much better rep in Harry Potter. Why can't I go back? A much better rep in Harry Potter. They are sources of rude notes in Sorcerer's Stone. That's the only mention of a Muggle library until Hermione goes off to visit one in Deathly Hallows. They are intimidatingly large and full of outdated information. They are places of whispers and work rather than laughter and enjoyment. Only the bookish Hermione truly enjoys the library, and even then she only likes it because it serves her purposes. Some positive moments are linked to Hogwarts Library, such as the dueling club announcement in Chamber of Secrets, and Hermione and Victor's relationship blooming in Goblet of Fire. This is a far cry from what libraries, especially libraries designed for 11 to 18-year-olds, strive to be. So what makes for a good library? In 1931, Shyali Ramrita Ranganathan, a librarian and mathematician from India, derived the 5 laws of library science, which are still taught today. First, books are for use. Second, every person their book. Third, every book its reader. Fourth, save the time of the reader. And fifth, the library is a growing organism. Ranganathan's first law is designed to make sure that the preservation and storage of books is in the service of their use. This means that the library's location, loan policies, hours and days of operation, the quality of staffing, and mundane matters such as furniture and temperature control are all focused on finding a balance between preserving and distributing information. The library is located on the 4th or 1st floor of the castle, depending on where in the series you read about it. Note that in Britain, floors are numbered only above the ground floor, so the 1st floor would actually be the 2nd in America, and the 4th would be the 5th. Either way, the library is not on the ground floor. Though the 1st floor is certainly more accessible than the 4th, neither of these placements encourages use, particularly for first years who may have trouble navigating the castle's moving staircases, or students and faculty with mobility issues, such as Alistair Moody, or the semi-canonical cases of Natsai Onai and Murphy McNully, both of whom use wheelchairs. Having the library on an upper floor is also highly unusual, especially for one of this size. Most libraries of significant size are placed on ground floors, making it easier to rearrange shelves for display or storage purposes and expand the library building if needed. Having worked on a library that was put into a former bank that had a basement, I am intimately knowledgeable in the perils of moving shelving around when you don't have proper load-bearing walls underneath. However, this is not Madame Pince's fault, as the library space was built well before her tenure, though she could advocate for the library to be moved. Loan policies. We know very little about the loan policies for books at Hogwarts. We do see Pince stamping out a pile of books in Order of the Phoenix, showing that students could check out many books simultaneously and that magical and muggle technologies for library loans were similar at the time. We also know that there is a hold system, as the waitlist for Hogwarts A History was 2 weeks long during the basilisk attacks in Chamber of Secrets. So far, so good. However, when Hermione checks out most potent potions in Chamber of Secrets, she keeps the book out for months. This might have been possible because there was no waiting list, but since the book was from the restricted section, it should have been hard for Hermione to renew it for regular checks on holds. Library hours. As far as the library hours go, there is no mention of days that the library is closed. The library is even open during breaks, such as when Harry researched Nicholas Flamel in Sorcerer's Stone. This encourages students and staff to use the space and materials, as they do not have to worry about which days they can go to find information. However, in February of 1995, that's Harry's 4th year, Madame Pince came to chivvy Harry out of the library by 8 o'clock, as he frantically researched methods for his second Triwizard task. That month, the sunset ranged from 4:47 to 5:45 p.m. in Glasgow. Further, full dark happens no more than an hour after sunset, and Pince had extinguished all the lamps. So the library is not closing when studying is no longer practical, but rather on a schedule. While students may check out books and take them to their common room or an unused classroom to continue studying, access to dedicated space and the ability to grab more books as needed is preferable, especially for OWL and NEWT students. As far as I can tell from the text, Irma Pince is the only librarian and has no student assistance. This means that anyone using the library has only one person they can turn to for assistance in checking out a book or finding information. Considering that that Hogwarts is an institution of learning and the sheer size of the collection and population, to call this understaffing is a massive understatement. More on this later. So regarding the first law, Hogwarts Library and Madam Pince get a C-. On the one hand, using books is tolerated, not encouraged. Further, the library protocols and location leave much to be desired. On the other hand, use is not discouraged, and in all fairness, many of these issues are outside of Pince's control. She could advocate moving the library to the ground floor, but that would be a massive undertaking for a single worker, as would be extending the hours. The second law of librarian science is designed to ensure that all the information the service population needs is available. The service population of Hogwarts is straightforward: the faculty and students. Pince and former librarians seem to have done an excellent job of collecting materials that would be useful to these populations. The Hogwarts Library is massive, perhaps even under an extension charm. It has tens of thousands of books, thousands of shelves, and hundreds of narrow rows. The text explicitly mentions sections on invisibility, dragon care, and the restricted section. It is implied to have a law section. Semi-canonically, it also has an alchemy and a poetry section. Materially, resources are available on every topic the school teaches. We know this because only extracurricular topics, such as Nicholas Flamel or Saving Buckbeak, warrant extended plot points. So for the second law, I give Madam Pince and Hogwarts Library an A. They have all the materials their patrons need. They could provide materials in other media, perhaps by including pensives for viewing memories of historical events or to catch up on lectures, but since those appear incredibly rare, I'll be forgiving. Ranganathan's third law correlates with the second and protects against censorship. The second and third law are in the order they are because of priority. As long as a book fits the second law, it should have a place in a collection. The only reason a book should not be included in a collection is that it does not fit the second law as it relates to that collection. For logistical reasons, materials should be prioritized according to a rule of parsimony. Resources should be allocated in proportion to the percentage of the population that needs it. However, due to the potential or previous use of an extension charm on Hogwarts Library, the physical size of the collection is not a concern. This means that there is only one reason a book should not be included or should be removed from the collection. It is not or is no longer relevant to the school's need. For instance, in Chamber of Secrets, the complete works of Gilderoy Lockhart should have been in the collection as a textbook. However, once he was exposed as a fraud, they should have been removed for false or outdated information. On this front, I give Madam Pince and Hogwarts Library an A-. The only time access to materials is restricted at Hogwarts is when the material's content would be directly dangerous to the reader or those around them. This is why the restricted section exists, to keep novices from attempting magic beyond their ability, such as when Vincent Crabbe uses fiend fire in Deathly Hallows, as well as why Dumbledore moved all books on Horcruxes from the library to the headmaster's office. The fourth law covers allowing patrons to quickly and easily access information. This includes book catalogs, organization of sections, and creating workflows, guides, and frameworks so that patrons can find information they need as quickly as possible. It is not This is not so that patrons spend as little time as possible in the library. Instead, it is so that they can get the most out of whatever time they have to be there. Patrons usually approach library research using at least one of three questions. Does the library have a specific material? Which works of some author does the library have? Or what works does the library have on a certain topic? The first question is used when the patron knows what material they want, but they do not know if the library has a copy, or where that copy would be. The second is when patron knows of an author who is an expert on a topic, or the author in question is the subject of study. The third and most common is when the patron merely knows what topic they wish to learn about, but not specific works or authors. Having divided the collection into sections, Irma Pince has taken a solid first step towards helping patrons with the third approach. Considering that most Hogwarts students are researching for classes, having sections based on the general needs of each class is a good idea. However, there is no indication of any reason or order within these general sections or any way to know if a book is checked out versus on the shelf. A student could very easily spend an entire afternoon searching for a particular book, only to return to their common room and see a classmate reading it. Staffing is again an issue here. Madam Pince, as I said before, is the only library staff. The number of students at Hogwarts varies according to each book, from 40 to 120 students per year. And Rowling has said in an interview that there is approximately 1,000 students total at Hogwarts. No matter the number, one librarian is insufficient to maintain the library, help students and staff, and provide the instruction new students need to use the library effectively. That said, Pince does seem to be a competent librarian in this respect, as even when they were first years, Harry was sure she'd be able to tell them where to find information on Nicholas Flamel, but they couldn't risk Snape hearing what they were up to. Sidebar, this is one of the most misremembered parts of the series. While Pince is an intimidating and crabby character, her personality is not the reason that they choose not to use her as a resource. Rather, secrecy. Keeping it secret from Snape is the reason. Magic could be an excellent tool to help with speed of access. Quills that automatically write catalog records are magic on par with Rita Skeeter's Quick Quotes Quill. Summoning and banishing books would be an easy way to acquire specific books, though students only learn either of these charms during their fourth year. However, there is no indication that any such magics were used. Instead, mundane browsing and grabbing of books appears to be the norm. It is only in the movies that books shelve themselves. This is not in the books at all. Regarding the fourth law, I give Hogwarts Library an F and Madam Pince a D+. She is competent in using an inefficient system. However, she does not have all available tools, and even the best possible effort won't get the job done under these conditions. The fifth law is perhaps the most interesting in and of itself, and regarding Hogwarts Library. Of the 5 laws, it's the only one that is non-literal. Laws 1 through 3 are ontological, speaking to the nature of libraries, materials, and patrons. Law 4 is a directive, but Law 5 is a metaphor. Like a living organism, libraries must constantly remake themselves to suit their environment. Like a natural environment, the context of a library is in constant flux. Service populations, technologies are constantly changing, and new materials are constantly printed. Thus, the quantity and quality of the materials in the collection must be reassessed regularly. As mentioned, Hogwarts has no issues absorbing new materials into its collection. Between presumably ample funding and expansion charms, there's no reason to believe that Hogwarts will ever run out of money or space to expand its collection. Their issue is in quality. Most libraries maintain quality by regularly withdrawing materials, outdated or irrelevant books from their collections. After all, as a living organism must eat, so must it excrete. Librarians regularly check circulation data and publication dates, removing books that either do not circulate or can be replaced with newer, more accurate information. However, Hogwarts finds itself in a unique position. Unlike most libraries serving 11 to 18-year-olds, Hogwarts Library also serves as the primary repository of knowledge for the highest institute of magical learning in the country. This role limits their ability to withdraw materials. Because of Hogwarts' dual role, Madame Pince also finds herself in a dual position as both archivist and school librarian. These roles are often at odds with each other, especially when dealing with physical collections. If a student is researching the history of potion making, there are centuries of information to cover, and the older a source gets, the more fragile it is. Should Madame Pince entrust a 200-year-old book to a 6-year Gryffindor? Who knows what recklessly brave thing they will do while carrying the book? What about letting a Hufflepuff or Slytherin take the manuscript through the kitchens or to a lake adjacent common room? It's an archivist's nightmare. It's unclear if Reparo will restore ruined text or remove water damage. It also seems that all parts of the object must be present for Reparo to work correctly. What if some caustic potion spills on the book, or a student removes a page as Hermione did in Chamber of Secrets? Hogwarts might have the last surviving copy, and the information could be lost forever. On the other hand, Madame Pince must provide the information her students need, even if Hogwarts has the sole remaining copy of a text, Pince must allow students and staff to access it. She could duplicate the book with the Gemino charm, but even this workaround might have limitations. While if the original copy were perfectly duplicated, Wix's would have a one-up on Muggles on this front, since metatextual information that would be missing from mundane duplicates, such as bindings, materials, watermarks, and composition of ink, would also likely be replicated. However, like with Reparo, it is unknown if the text will be adequately duplicated. It probably would not, given that the printing technology the Ministry uses for pamphlets in Deathly Hallows did not seem to utilize this charm. Thus, Madame Pince is in a double bind. She is the sole caretaker for the largest repository of Wixen information in the country, but she must put that information in danger whenever someone else needs it. Double binds are not beneficial to mental health or job satisfaction, so perhaps it is inevitable that Madame Pince is grumpy. Considering all of these factors, I give Hogwarts Library a D-, and Madame Pince a C+, regarding the fifth law, since Pince is good at preserving and acquiring information. However, the system is not designed to fit the service needs of the population. Madame Pince seems to be doing the best humanly possible with the system she inherits, which is inherently contradictory and ambivalent in its intentions. Based on my grades for each law and weighting them to prioritize application over principles, I give Hogwarts overall a D+, and Madame Pince a C+. There is a lot that both Hogwarts as an institution and Pince as a librarian could each do to serve the students and faculty better, but it's not hopeless either. Before we move on to questions, I do quickly want to thank our excellent organizers, our session moderator, and my fellow presenters, as well as Chestnut Hill College and all of you for being a wonderful audience. Thank you all.